start, you're going to need your fabric, and I recommend using a stretchy knit, a single stitch sewing machine, a serger, and your pattern. And the pattern is available at properfitclothing.com. Start by cutting out your pattern and then taping sweatband panels together. Next, go ahead and trace your panels onto your fabric and cut them out. You're going to want to end up with 4 crown panels, 2 brim panels, and 1 sweatband panel. Start by grabbing 2 of your crown pieces, placing right sides together, and serge along the edge. And we do recommend using a serger because we're working with stretchy knit, and it's hard to do a straight stitch with stretchy knit because it'll snap the stitch. And if you don't have a serger, you can always use a zigzag stitch. Now repeat this process for the other 2 panels. Once you have 2 sets of panels, now you're going to go ahead and top stitch both those seams. Next, take both those sets, place the right sides together, and sew along the entire arc. And I recommend starting at the middle. This helps keep everything in line. Then flip it over and sew the other half. And finally, you're going to want to top stitch along that entire arc. Next, we're going to be making the brim sleeve, so place the right sides together and then serge around that front arch. Then go ahead and flip it right side out. Now for finishing the brim, you can go ahead and trace out a piece of plastic from a folder. That's all that this is right here. Or you can use cardboard or interfacing. It really doesn't matter as long as it's a little bit stiff. We found that folders work really good for this part of the brim. Then slide that brim into the sleeve and stitch the back edge. This will lock that brim into position. Then for a final touch, we're going to add a top stitch on the brim. So go ahead and just stitch along that front edge of the brim. Next, we're going to attach in the brim to the crown. So we went ahead and marked the middle of the crown and the middle of the brim, and we're going to line those up and start stitching in the middle and then work your way towards the outside edge and then flip it over and stitch the other half. And this just really helps keep that brim centered as you're sewing it. So now grab your sweatband and serge just one edge, and this is going to be one of the longer edges. And if you don't have a serger, go ahead and do a zigzag stitch on that edge. Now you're going to want to roll that edge over and do a top stitch along that edge. And this is just a standard straight stitch. Next, take about a 2 or 3 inch piece of elastic and sew it to the right side of that sweatband. And the less elastic you're using, the tighter the hat is going to be, so keep that in mind. And then also sew it to the right side of the other side, making a full loop. Then go ahead and top stitch both of those sides. Now we're going to be attaching the sweatband to the crown. To do this, you're going to place the right sides together and start at the back right after the elastic. And then do a single stitch all the way around in a circle. And when you get to the elastic, make sure you're pulling the elastic and sewing at the same time. And now that you have the sweatband attached, go ahead and do a top stitch all the way around that bottom edge. This will prevent the sweatband from flipping out. And now we're going to do one more top stitch around the bottom, and this is about a 1/4 inch away from the other stitch. And just like the first one, go all the way around full circle. And if you're looking for any of the tools or machines that we are using, we provide links in the description, so go on and check that out. And there you have it, your cycling cap is complete. This is a super simple, fun cap to make, and it helps kind of get into the cap making process. So get creative with it, try some new fabrics out. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to be bringing some more cycling caps at you in the future here. And be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next time.